have any legislation before us, so just as a preamble as we get started, we had not planned to have comments from the audience. Normally we would take comments on legislation. If anybody feels that they need have something that they need to share across the committee, this is we're going to have two presentations. But if anybody out there has something they feel like they need to share, if you would see Sarah Gallion over here, raise your hand, Sarah. It's a team higher education joke there. And Matthew Cooper is our intern from the University of Georgia. Let me introduce him. But if you'd see one of them, if you would, what you would like to talk to us about, and we'll get started here just momentarily. Okay, we've reached that appointed hour, as they say, and I want to thank everybody for joining us this afternoon. We are competing with the Senate Higher Ed Committee for some members, and I know some of our officers in the committee are presenting legislation over there. But thank you, everybody. Welcome back. It's 2020, so we all should see clearly, right? That's where we're starting with a cheerful countenance and a positive outlook this legislative session. And we have some good information to spread across the committee that I think that you'll be very interested in toward moving Georgia forward and giving Georgians an even better opportunity than they have today with our post-secondary education. Two presentations. The first from the Georgia Professional Standards Commission about a system they put together to be informative and to help us, again, prepare people even better to go into secondary education. Matt Arthur, our new commissioner. Matt, if I'm going to turn it over to you right now and let you introduce your team to be here that you have with you today and your presentation. If one of the members, if you have a burning urge during the gentleman's or the presentation, just press your button and we'll try to do that. Otherwise, we'll try to leave some time at the end for questions, and we'll get to them at that time. Commissioner, welcome aboard.
Today by two members of our staff, Joy Fateh, who is our data analyst, and Penny McRoy, who's Director of Ed Prep for the Georgia Professional Standards Commission. And we're here, we've been asked to come and present an overview of the preparation program effectiveness measures that we have in place. And it's one of our methods of assessing the quality of education prep in the state of Georgia as we work through it, and prompting program improvements. We work with our colleges in the state hand in hand to accomplish this. And in December, we launched a public dashboard on our website where the effectiveness measures are provided to the public. And so that's what we're going to present to you today, talk a little bit about how we came up with this along with our colleges and what's in place and what you can go online and the citizens of the state of Georgia can see. So I'm going to turn it over.
Thank you, Matt. I'm Penny McRoy, and I am going to use the PowerPoint presentation just to give you a little bit of background and some information about our preparation program effectiveness measures. These measures are specifically designed to give us an opportunity to have an idea about the quality of preparation programs in the state of Georgia. And those programs are offered by 71, as you see there, program providers spread across the state. 41 of those are institutions of higher education, 21 public, 20 private. And then we have 30 non-traditional program providers, and those are the folks that offer the Georgia TAP programs, the programs for career changers, and those are also spread across the state. Now, throughout all of this work, our goal is obviously to ensure that every student in a Georgia classroom has an effective teacher. And I will add to that, we want them to have the absolute best teacher that they can have. So what are these effectiveness measures? We use the acronym PPEMs, and that stands for Program Effectiveness Measures, as you can see there, but we have them for teacher preparation programs, and we have them for leader preparation programs. The leader preparation program effectiveness measures are coming along slowly because we've had a transition in the way that we prepare leaders in the last few years, and so we're waiting on the data to come along as we have more and more folks finishing those programs and getting jobs. But for our teacher preparation program effectiveness measures, those are up and running, and that's what Joy is going to share with you in just a few minutes. Matt mentioned the purpose of this system. The primary purpose is improvement. We built this system so that it would provide information to our program providers so that they could use that information to improve their programs. The second purpose is transparency. We have a responsibility as a state agency to make this information available to the public, to those that are interested in seeing it. And then, of course, accountability is another purpose. We use this information to make sure that our program providers are meeting our high standards of quality. Now, quickly, about the development of this system, it has been driven by stakeholder engagement from the beginning. We started back in 2012 with a task force working on what this system should look like, what should be included, how it should work. And that task force has been comprised all along. As you can see there, we had a task force from 2012 to 14, and now we have an advisory council that's ongoing. But these groups all along have been comprised of those who are impacted by the effectiveness measures, representatives of educator preparation programs. We've had some representatives of P12 schools. We've had representatives of our sister state agencies and of our professional associations. So it has been a very collaborative process all along the way. This advisory council that will remain with us for as long as the PPEMs are there, they meet with us twice a year, and that is a group, again, of stakeholders representative of the institutions and the agencies that are impacted by the effectiveness measures, and they've been wonderful to advise us on implementation. The dashboard that you'll see in just a moment is reflective of their input. My last thing to share with you here is just this diagram, which gives you a good idea of our process. We go through this process over and over again. We collect the data. We model the measures and the impact of those measures. We share that with the advisory council. We get their feedback, and then we refine. And this is what I believe has really helped us to build a very good system. Now, Joy is going to walk you through how the measures are calculated.
Hi, everyone. I'm Joy Fifi, Data Analyst for GAPSC. And just some basics on the TPPEM that's sort of interchangeable at the moment with PPEM, because as Penny noted, we only have the teacher version of the PPEM that's currently calculated. So the TPPEM has 5 components. Some of these components are in the program, and some of them are outcome measures. We and our various advisories and task forces felt it very important that if teachers themselves are being assessed on how their students do in the classroom, their outcome measures, then the program providers should also be assessed on how the teachers are doing when they hit the classroom. So between those two, there's actually a 50-50 split, with half, the right half, being program measures, and on the left half, you see the outcome measures. What makes those program measures is that those data are collected during a candidate's time in a program. Now, we only use data from people that do eventually go on to complete the program, but the EdTPA is a performative assessment of teaching skill, and the GACE is a content assessment. So those two are assessed before a candidate leaves the program. And then on the opposite side, you've got those that are brought to us, that are collected at some point when the completer then is employed in a Georgia public school. So you have the TAPS, that's the Teacher Assessment on Performance Standards. That's from the Teacher Keys, the TKES system that the Georgia Department of Education runs, and that's the teacher observations by a principal or supervisor. Then we have an inductee survey and an employer survey. The inductee survey is a survey of new teachers near the end of their first year in the classroom in a Georgia public school. So once they've had a chance to get that almost full year under their belt, how well do they really feel that they were prepared for the challenges of being in a K-12 classroom? And then on the employer side, around the same point in time, the employers of those same inductee teachers, and the survey is specifically geared to the preparation. How well do they feel that those teachers were prepared, again, for the rigors of classroom instruction? One other little note at the bottom, the PPM does aggregate the last 3 years of data. That is largely due to the challenges of we have some small providers and programs out there that maybe don't have more than a handful of people to complete a program per year. And if they have, say, 5 completers in a year, we couldn't reliably take 1 year of data and derive an accurate score that we could trust from just those 5 completers. Things happen when you have those numbers that are so small. So we aggregate 3 prior years of data. That's just something to bear in mind if and when you go to the dashboard yourselves and you're looking at local institutions and seeing, some numbers that maybe might be different than what you expect, you're looking at 3 years of data. The ratings that are ultimately generated by that pie and all the calculations that underlie it are levels 4, 3, 2, and 1. And we really try to keep the focus on those levels, those numbers, because they don't carry quite as much of a value judgment. And as has been noted, the primary purpose of all of this is improvement. So we really want our first foot forward to providers to be supporting them and informing them in their own efforts to improve. But those levels do mean something, and the level 4 is the best rating that they can get. That is exemplary. A level 3 is effective. A level 2, this is a little tricky. It's at risk of low performing, but you should really have that focus in your mind on the at risk, not the low performing, because it is only level 1 that is actually low performing. The level 2 is almost more of a warning track, that we want to let those folks know that they are below where a lot of the providers in our state are, and that if were they to fall further, they might fall into that low-performing category. But in and of themselves, a level 2, as far as GAPSC is concerned, is an acceptable rating, but we really desire them to be at a level 3 or a level 4. And just as a little kind of recap from academic year 2019, that was the most recent calculation. Last summer, we had 14 providers to achieve a level 4 rating. That's almost a quarter. About 2 in 3 got a level 3, which is our effective rating. We had 6 providers that were at a level 2. That's about 10% of our providers. And we've been working since then to support those in their efforts to succeed. And then we don't have any providers in level 1. At the moment, that's a good thing. It tells us that our standards for approval are working, we hope. But it is not out of the question that eventually we would have a level 1 provider, and that we would work very hard to support their efforts to improve. And you'll notice, if you're thinking about this, those don't add up to 71, which is the number of providers Penny gave you earlier. We do have some providers in the state that, even despite the 3-year aggregation, don't get enough completers within those 3 years to have enough data. And remember, some of those data are from when their completers are employed. So if they have a really low N size, as we call that, then they may never actually generate a PPM. But we'll take a special look at them separately. But those do not appear on this chart. And then the impact of the PPM, we really tried very hard to align the impact of the PPM with the 3 purposes stated earlier: improvement, transparency to the public, and accountability. So on the improvement side of things, we have on gapsc.org, that's not our regular website, it's for providers and ourselves. We have detailed data in the secure provider-facing dashboard there to give them really low, very, very low ends there, stuff that we would not give out on a scoring basis, but information that providers should still be able to see to help their improvement efforts. They develop improvement plans based on that data, and then we provide support and technical assistance. Among that, within the last year, has been a webinar series on data use, virtual meetings with groups and individuals from providers, conference sessions. We hosted a conference in October and did sessions on the PPM, sessions on improving your program offerings. And at that conference, data labs, where they could sign up for a time slot and they sat down with me or one of our 2 IT staff to talk further about their data, open up the dashboard, talk through it together, and had really good feedback from providers about that. Then our second most important purpose for the PPM is transparency. In the public dashboard, we've got high-level data for the public to see, and there we really tried to put a lens of potentially future candidates that might be looking at programs that they would want to attend. What would they want to see? What would be helpful to them in making such an important choice? And our advisory was very helpful in that, and we did several round iterations of development on that dashboard to try to give people what they need, the public what they need. And finally, accountability. The public dashboard is also a form of accountability, but we do have implications for our program approval and review cycle internally with these scores. And the review cycle is 7 years long, so the PPMs provide an annual check, where if problems were to arise in a program mid-cycle, we might see that sooner in the data than having to wait a full 7 years for those to really be revealed. And just here's our little contact stuff, but I want to point out the first is an email, ppms@gapsc.com. Any technical questions or just general questions, feel free to email that. We do check it daily. And then the second, gapsc.com/educatorpreparation/ppms.asps. There's not only contains a link to the dashboard, but a whole bunch of other resources about the PPMs. So if you want to screenshot that or whatever, that's a good place where we've got an FAQ on that site. We have we've got similar diagrams to what you will see in your packets. So that's an additional resources to what even we have in front of you today. And I'm going to exit this because I want to actually show you that public dashboard that has had so much work from us and from our stakeholders. And if you go to gapsc.com, I'm showing you how to get there first, and underneath news and announcements, the third one down, the first one you see that we're welcoming Matt Arthur, our new executive secretary. But the third one down, we see that we've got a new public dashboard for the PPM. So if you click on that, it'll pull up this, the Teacher Preparation Program Effectiveness Measure Public Dashboard. And I'm going to see if I can get this maybe a little bit bigger because it's really small on that screen. One moment. There we go. So first of all, if you're me, you want to look through and just kind of skim and see all these scores that we have for all these various providers. You'll see really dominant on the left-hand side, the overall rating. That's really where your main focus should be. The other ratings, although they do also have numbers under EdTPA, GACE, TAPS, etc., those are more interpretive. They're more to act as a guide to EPPs. Those ratings themselves don't actually generate the overall rating, but the overall rating, that is a combination of all the others. That's where that pie chart is used to create that. And so if you see an ND, that means that there is insufficient data for scoring. That is by no means a bad thing. It just means that there aren't enough of them, or we didn't get enough surveys back, or whatever the case might be, to generate a reliable score. And then I want to show you what happens if you dig down a little bit deeper. We'll actually look at the University of Georgia. So if you click on the University of Georgia, you see kind of an expanded view of the detail that underlies this. So you see they've got an effectiveness rating of 4, which is exemplary. And then under the overview, you can actually start to see the point breakdown. Those slices of the pie, that 30%, 20%, etc., just turn into points over here. So you can see the number of points that they earn. You can see the level that that number of points is for each measure. And you can also see their overall index score. That's where the rating actually comes from. They've got a 184, which if you look at the rating T off to the side, 180 to 200 is our level 4 range. That 184 is solidly within the exemplary realm, so congratulations to them. There are further calculation basics underneath that if you want to understand that, and even at the very bottom a link to our technical specifications where the super detailed in the weeds calculations are. But if that's not the only thing that we have on offer here, program measures, you can click on those program measures. That's where you see the EdTPA, a little more information about what it is, the GACE, a little bit more information about what it is, and again our points and the number of individuals who are contributing data, which might be important. If you're seeing a weirdly low or weirdly high score, you might see, okay, well there's only 15 people contributing data. That kind of explains that. Outcome measures is very similar. That's where you're seeing the 3 things that are collected during a completer's time in the classroom. And this is my favorite tab, the provider context. So none of the information on the provider context tab is used in the PPM calculation. It's all just there to help, again, potential candidates, anyone who is looking for more information about a program. So you get some basic contact information. You can find out the average entry and exit GPA of candidates in that program, average hours of student teaching that are actually performed, average years of experience of mentor teachers, the percent that are post-baccalaureate versus baccalaureate programs, a 3-year trend of completers. Do you see a slight decline here? That is a statewide trend. A breakdown by race and ethnicity and by gender. An employment rate chart over the last 3 years. And finally, the employment by area. So you can explore into each provider in our state and see where their folks are ending up employed. These regions that you're seeing are our P20 collaborative regions, so they're sort of a larger grouping than your RESAs if you're familiar with those. And so feel free to come and explore this. Again, this is online for anyone to access at this point. The easiest way to access it is to go to gapsc.com and then click on the little banner underneath news and announcements. And you can also navigate to the same place if you just know exactly who you want to look at. You could use this drop down to navigate to the University of Georgia. And if, say, you are an potential elementary education teacher, you can navigate to that program itself and see the same sort of metrics for that program. And that is our PPM public dashboard, and we are so pleased to be able to share it with all of you. Are there any questions or comments from the committee?
Do you have questions at this time? All right, I'm going to try to go by numbers. Is that you, Representative Park, or Burnett? So, okay, Representative Park.
Thank you, Chairman. So I just had a quick question in regards to TAPS and especially when it comes to measuring the outcome of teacher performance. Is there taken into consideration whether or not the school is in a Title I school district, the socioeconomic status of students, along with any other geographical barriers that may exist? It's all right.
Okay, that wasn't me. Sorry, go on.
But just generally, especially when we're measuring the effectiveness of teachers, do the formulas take into consideration barriers that students face and some of the challenges in teaching certain populations?
Yeah, they do not, but that's an excellent question. That's sort of actually on our docket of things to look at when obviously this is going to be a work that will be revisited and refined over time, and that's frankly top on my personal list of priorities of things to look at. What we'd want to do is look at that and see if there is a relationship there between the TAPS and see if we can numerically justify that. But that will be a question for our advisory at some point in time. Thank you for that question.
Thank you for your presentation. One more question, if you don't mind. So generally, what is the information here used for? Is it teacher bonuses? I know Gwinnett had their school system send out bonuses generally, but
the TAPS might be, that would be a question for someone from the Georgia Department of Ed. I don't know at this point, or maybe from the districts. This system is really more, we use it at the level of those programs within higher ed. So the University of Georgia Teacher Preparation Program or similar. We wouldn't see this rolling down to affect teachers in any way, I would not expect. And we would hope not to, because that's not what it's meant for. It's really meant to look at how are the people that are supposed to be preparing teachers, how well are they doing their jobs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 14, I don't know, is it George Asper?
Thank you, ma'am. Just real quick question. Haven't got to welcome Executive Secretary Arthur. Welcome. I'm sorry I did that. I'll take it back. But yeah, I've got just a question, Mr. Chairman, on your original page you put out the inductee survey. That's something I'm just very curious about. I think it'd be to you, ma'am. On the 32 items that you have there, what do they do with it? I think it would be interesting for us to see some data that shows what schools are doing, what those teachers, those first, second, third year teachers are saying about the education they get.
Yeah, the providers can see down to a question level those responses. And one interesting thing to note about this survey is aligned to the INTASC standards, which are a set of standards for teachers to achieve, essentially. So the providers can see those at the item level. They can also see them aggregated at the INTASC standard. Now, what they largely use them for are their own internal efforts to improve. Because they are surveys, it's a little bit of a softer data set, you might think of it, than a harder data set like a standardized assessment. So we encourage them to use that data to sort of triangulate amongst their data and see, all right, EdTPA is showing a weakness in planning for assessment uses. Are we saying the same things? Are our people saying the same things on surveys when they get out into the field? But it's mainly used at that provider level where it is used.
Yeah, I'd like to see the questions. 'Cause I think I see the majority of, when teachers talk to me about, especially in the first and second year, the challenges they're receiving on teacher training, teacher classroom management, et cetera, just for my curiosity to be answered. So can one school look at another school's, or is it protected that I can look at my own?
They can look at what I just showed you. They can look at each other's on that. On the public
But drilling
side,
down into the 32 items.
Yeah, not drilling down to the 32 items. If you were to want to see further data, you would certainly be welcome to get in contact with us directly, and we can show you some of that too.
All right. Thanks, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good afternoon. So my question is, does the TPPM measure preparedness for special education teachers as well? And if so, what, outside of like the inductee surveys and employer surveys, what measure are you using? Because to me it seems like TAPS might not be the best measurement for preparedness in special education.
Yeah, we don't have any special measures that are specific to special education. Completers of special ed preparation programs would be measured in the course of looking at the provider as a whole. They would be counted to that provider's overall score. And then also, if we were to drill down to the level of a preparation program specific to a field, you could look at, say, UGA special ed program. You could look at that, or another provider's program.
Thank you.
But we don't use anything specific to special ed.
Thank you for this. As a retired educator and I was a mentor for a TAP teacher. So I think this is a good start to go ahead and measure the program, because a lot of times what happens with the new teacher is the teacher becomes the problem if something's not working. So the fact that we're going back and looking at the program to make sure the program prepared them, I think this is great.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do you know what institutions that have this data actually do when you're in the lower ranking? Is there what is the actually, if there's actually need to do something, or you see the need based on your data, what do the higher education institution do with the data, and how they use it to make improvements, and what do the schools do with the data to make improvements?
Yeah, the institutions themselves would, if they're at a level 2 or level 1, we require them to submit an action plan, and this is the first consequential year, so they're just in the process of developing those. But I've actually been on a couple of calls with them, some of them that have said, this is what we're going to do as a result. So I'm trying to think of some specifics that they looked and said, all right, this is where our surveys are showing, according to INTASC standard, this is our average by that standard, and standards 3 and 6 are a little bit lower than the rest. So not only are we going to look at program alignment and where are those standards addressed in our courses, and comparing it to syllabi, etc. But then they've also, I sort of encouraged them to maybe think about drawing together a focus group so that they could actually talk to some individual completers and get further information, rather than just, all right, here's a raw number, you got an average of 3.5 instead of 3.8 on this, but what do they really say, what contributed to them giving that rating on the survey? That's one area that we're seeing, and we also see really similar pretty much through all of them, because they, the providers, can look at their ratings at the domain level. So most of what they do is they'll go through and they'll see, okay, on the 10 TAPS domains, which ones are higher, which ones are strength, which ones are lower, and potential areas for improvement. And then they do that work of looking for that alignment between those domains and their courses and their syllabi and the program offerings to make sure those topics are covered adequately. One of them gave a really neat thing on one of our webinars about how they picked 2 Ed TPA standards, and then I think lesson planning was the big focus. And then they went in and had the faculty redesign the lesson plan, and then went to a group of students and said, now, do you think that from this redesign you would get what you're supposed to be getting? And the students were like, nah, not really. And so they went back and they redesigned it again based on that feedback, and really came to what was an excellent plan. And in the end, the next year, they had an average increase on that domain of half a point out of 5 points, which is enormous. So that kind of alignment is really where that work happens. And faculty development.
Further questions? Further questions? Thank you very much for doing this. I would suggest that everyone take a moment to look on the website, to look around at this, and to think about it as has been presented, that this is not meant to be a whipping post, for a program, but instead to do just what Joy highlighted there, is to do a repetitive effort, incremental increase in effectiveness, or potential for increase in effectiveness in a program. And that's what this organization does, is they help us with the Professional Standards Commission to help us put more talented, or take our talented people that are in the education profession and give them more tools and better things that they can use in our classrooms. So I would suggest we take a look at that, and we'll invite you all back, later in the session if members would like to run through this again, or having had a chance to look at it, do that further. Also, Sarah can get you in touch with the executive director and his team if you would like to pull this out. The last thing I would say to this, and we'll move on and try to keep us on track here, is, as you look through this institution, I looked at one in here that is a 2, that is, I forget what your level there, you said, is needs to be watched. It's not but it's a high, if I will, it's a high 2. It's almost a 3. So I haven't looked at all this, but it's not to be looked at into a failing score at all. And in fact, without the identifying that you would stay the same, this gives everybody a chance to get better. So if you have an institution in your area that finds themselves in there, I would suggest that we use our resources to communicate to them in a positive manner. This is to make us all better, and to use it as a positive, not a negative. Yes, the website, I actually have it pulled up here, and tell me if I'm wrong, but it's gapsc.com. And right on the front page of the website, you'll see at the home, you'll see it right there, the third item down. You'll also see it in the middle of the menu at educator preparation. I guess that'll be up all the time in case it falls off the home page at some point. gapsc.com. Very well. Well, thank you very much. Thank you all for coming, Joy, Penny, and Matt. We appreciate you guys doing this. We'll see you more, I'm sure, as the year moves on. Welcome aboard. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. This is just, we're just finished this one. Yeah, we're getting him. If you can get your chair to quit talking. Thank you all for coming. I thought everybody was leaving. No, ma'am, not at all. If you can just get your chair to quit talking here, we'll get right to him. So thank you all. You're welcome to stay. Moving right on there to Dr. Denley, I'm gonna ask Casey Tanner if you would come up. Casey has changed names on us there, but we all know Casey. We appreciate you being here. If you could set us up and introduce the good doctor for us today.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I'm Casey Tanner with the Board of Regents University System of Georgia, and we are here today to talk a little bit more about our Nexus Degrees. We've had a chance to share that with some of the members of the committee and certainly with the chairman, but I appreciate the opportunity that he has given us to share more collectively with you today. To do that, I'm going to introduce our Executive Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs and Chief Academic Officer, Tristan Dinley, and I'll call him up now. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thanks so much for the opportunity to share this afternoon. So first of all, I wanted to kind of put this work in a little bit of a context, so slightly broader context. Over the last 2 or 3 years, the university system has really been doubling down on trying to find ways in which we can enable many more students to be successful and earn credentials of value that really allow them to go out and create a successful life for themselves and their families. And so part of that is what this work we call the Momentum Year. And what I'm happy to tell you is that this work of the Momentum Year is now fully in place at all 26 of our institutions as of this incoming, or I guess fall 2019, back in the last decade. So that aspect of the Momentum Year is really designed using practices that are evidence-based, research-based, and data-based to put all of those things in place to get all of our students off to as good a start as we possibly can. Can we make that first year as foundationally successful as it possibly can be? It involves working with all of our students in new kinds of advising practices to help all of them really dig down as to why it is that they're in college. What did I come to college to study? What did I come to college to build towards? What we know is that when students in the past have come to college and were undecided, didn't really know why they were there, more than half of them dropped out before they ever figured that out. And so we're really trying to understand how it is that we can help students to really think about why are they in college, where is it that they're going. Along those same lines, once we now have that basic purpose, well, then we can work with them to craft a curricular pathway that takes them from where they are to where it is that they're headed. And what we know is there are some design principles around that pathway, that it's utterly crucial that right from the very start, they feel like they're studying what they thought they chose, that they really have some coursework in that first year that helps them get a good taste of what it is that they thought they came to study. For some of them, they'll realize, you know what, actually, I'm not sure I made the right choice. Maybe they wanted to be a teacher and realize they thought they liked children, but they realized they like their own children, not other people's children, or something like that. But the reality is that some of them will really recognize that they really do love exactly what they want and will be even more enthused. And so there's part of that. But what we also saw was the crucial nature of basic numeracy and literacy at the college level, success in math and in English. Again, as a data point to go away from, students who are successful in math and English in their first year are 10 times more likely to graduate than students who are not. And so first of all, recognizing that changes the way that we create these curricular pathways, but more than that, us really finding new ways in which we can enable many more students to be successful in those crucial classes. And so again, we completely redesigned the ways in which we are approaching freshman math and freshman English to enable many more of our students to be successful. So, as I say, this is not a pilot program. It's not at some of our institutions. It's not a few students. It's literally all of our over 50,000 incoming freshmen who are all part of this Momentum Year work at all 26 institutions. Now, part of what I said was purpose. That what we recognize is the crucial nature that students really want to know, why am I earning the degree that I'm earning? Why am I studying the coursework that I'm studying? And so part of that work then was for us to create a brand new kind of degree. And that's what I want to spend most of my time talking to you today. So this brand new kind of degree is the Nexus Degree. I want to sort of clarify what I mean by a brand new degree. I think if any of you who have ever come to any of our board meetings know we approve new degrees in this or that every month. We'll have a new degree in ocean science or a new degree in biochemistry. This is not that. This is a completely new kind of degree. So we've had associate's degrees, bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, and doctoral degrees. And those have been with us for quite some time. In fact, the last one of those to be created in the United States was in 1898. That's when the associate's degree was born. The Nexus Degree is a new member of that family. So in other words, the first new kind of the degree in the United States in more than 120 years. We, over the last few years, have really looked hard at what higher education should be for in this state. What are ways and what's the role of the university system and the ways in which we as a higher education system should be looking to prepare the educated populace across the state to be ready for the workforce across Georgia. And what we recognized was that it was time for there to be a new one, a time for there to be a new degree that better met the needs of the state. And so that's what the Nexus Degree is all about. So what is this thing? So the Nexus Degree is a 60-hour credential. So that's 60 hours. It entails 42 hours of our general education core. Anything that calls itself a degree in SAC-COC, the Southern Association of Schools and Colleges, has to contain the full general education core. So all that 60 hours contains that general education curriculum, but also contains 18 specific focused credit hours focused around the focus of that Nexus Degree. Of those 18 hours, at least 12 have to be at the upper division level. So in other words, at least 12 have that gravitas of taking a coursework which are junior and senior level courses. And at least 6 of those hours have to be experiential learning. So some sort of preceptorship or apprenticeship or co-op or clinical placement. Some specific experiential work experience kind of learning. And then the final and perhaps most crucial aspect of this is all of that curriculum is designed in partnership with a major industry sector. So we work hand in glove with a major industry sector to exactly blueprint out what is the set of knowledge, the set of tasks that industry sector really needs its graduates to have, and then work with our faculty to then design to those curricular blueprints, to design a degree that specifically meets that need. Now, as you can imagine, creating a degree in this way then really creates a degree which on the one hand much more ably meets the needs of the current employer, but also creates a degree which is much more nimble and flexible than the degrees we've had in the past, which, although have standing the test of time, are much less able to kind of meet the needs of a very quickly changing economy. The target audience for this degree. So this is a new kind of degree. Who might be interested in earning this? Well, so first of all, of course, it's the case that some people already have a degree and are looking to perhaps find a way in which they might change direction or enhance their ability to move up in the career that they've chosen. And so, again, this Nexus Degree is sort of ideal for that purpose. Many of those people already have bachelor's or associate's degrees, will have already satisfied the requirements of the general education core, and so can come back and by earning perhaps an additional 18 or so hours, gain an entirely new degree, again with this very specific and current focus. It's also the case that a Nexus Degree can be embedded within a traditional bachelor's degree, because you can imagine a traditional bachelor's degree often serve people across the rest of their lifetime. A traditional liberal arts degree has those kinds of properties, but adding that Nexus Degree focus also creates a very sort of nuanced and targeted and very current kind of aspect of that curriculum. So you can imagine someone perhaps earning a bachelor's degree in English and a Nexus Degree in screenwriting, or perhaps a bachelor's degree in cybersecurity and a Nexus Degree in a strategic language like Chinese or Arabic or Russian or something like that. So again, this provides, we believe, a sort of a new 21st century kind of liberal arts degree, a combination that allows you to prepare for the rest of your life, as well as a degree which is extremely current for when you first walk out of the door as a new graduate. Lastly, it's also the case that this is a standalone credential. And so students can earn this Nexus Degree, 60 hours, and walk straight into a job, and we believe these jobs are really very competitive. I'll show you some of the examples we have in just a second. As I've stressed already, this is an employer partnership. As we created this new degree, we were very conscious of the fact that if we created a new degree and nobody knew what it was or what it did or why it would be of any interest, then we didn't really have any kind of value in the workplace. So instead, we created this model deliberately engaging the employers in the state so that they would know, yes, we understand exactly what it is that someone who has this degree will now bring to the table, because we were part of the team that designed the curriculum in the first place. I have to add, it has also been a partnership with our accreditor, because yes, it was the case that we at the university system, our board approved this new kind of degree in February 2018, but that was not the end of the creation of this new degree. We had the ability to say, yes, we would like our schools to be able to deliver this new degree, but we also had to go through a process with SAC COC so that our schools would actually have an accredited ability to be able to provide this new degree as a new kind of credential to their students. And so, again, we have enabled our schools to go through precisely that process. And I'll talk a little later about who it is who has done that. So, what Nexus Degrees exist right now, and where are we with that process? So, currently we have 4 Nexus Degrees that have been approved by the university system. So there are 2 such degrees at Columbus State, one in post-production film and the other in cybersecurity and financial technology. There are 2 Nexus Degrees that have been approved at Albany State, blockchain machine learning and blockchain data analysis. You can see these are really very, very current kinds of topics, exactly the kind of high demand careers that that our state certainly needs many more people to be trained in, as well as other states too. Columbus State has been through that process with SAC COC to have the ability to provide this as a new degree to their students. So we actually have students right now who are studying in each of these degrees. Albany State is going through that process of having their degrees approved by SAC COC, so they're still in the approval process. I have to make it clear to you, whenever an institution decides they want to offer this new degree, just as if they want to offer any other kind of new degree at any level, they have to go through a substantive change process with SAC COC, and that will be true of any of our schools. Columbus State, now they've been through that process, now they are free to offer Nexus Degrees, and they certainly, just like all of our schools right now, are looking for which Nexus Degrees would make sense for them to offer together with the employers in their area. I know that certainly the chairman expressed some interest, and so I wanted to go a little level down to show you what kinds of things would be in these 18 hours. What might this look like? And so this is actually the curriculum for the cybersecurity and financial technology degree there at Columbus State. You can see that they have to do coursework in IT fundamentals, which is the sort of the introductory portion, but then network fundamentals, professionalism in cybersecurity workforce. They do 2 phases of an apprenticeship in cybersecurity, and then they also go through an industry certification in a variety of different focus areas like secure software assessing or system administration, financial technology, threat monitoring, and a variety of different choices. These courses, I should add, this specific program is being offered in a boot camp format. So actually these students go through this set of coursework in 3 8-week boot camp formats. And so at the end of 24 weeks, provided they've completed that general education core, they will walk out with a Nexus degree in hand, ready to go and work for. And you can imagine there at Columbus, there are a variety of companies that exactly work in financial technology and cybersecurity. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, actually, I'm gonna go to her. So,
okay.
Sammy, will you yield to Sean? I think you have to scoot with Representative. Would you mind yield to?
Is ready?
Well, he needs to run here a second. Do you mind if he goes first?
Yeah, let her go first because she's passing on myself.
Is it okay, Sam? Is that you?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Metz. Not at all. So I think this sounds fantastic, very interesting. The question that popped up in my mind was, how does it intersect with the technical college system of Georgia? And of course, if there is an intersection, how does the Hope Scholarship versus the Hope Grant overlay to cover tuition for these programs?
Yeah, so I think it's a great question. So we have a great partnership with our technical schools, and certainly these programs will be part of transfer kinds of agreements that we will develop with technical schools. The Nexus Degrees themselves are in programs that are, because they involve course material that's at the junior and senior level. That's in many ways the kind of the distinction between these new kinds of degrees and the kinds of training that are part of the technical school.
But just to be clear, there's not going to be competition between technical college systems versus Board of Regents schools in terms of some of these high transferring to some of these in-demand careers, especially given the cost of tuition of certain technical colleges versus universities.
No, this is designed to be completely complementary.
Thank you.
Testing. Could you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Okay. First of all, I'd like to say to you, Dr. Dinsley, I'd like to give you my belated congratulations. I've been following you for years.
Thank you.
Number one, welcome to our great state of Georgia, the greatest state in the world. Number two, welcome to the University System of Georgia. Well, I've seen the dashboard. I've done a lot of research in this area because the people in my district, District 55, they have been calling, they have been writing, they have been texting me. I have pretty close to 55,000 and still counting. My district starts in Buckhead, rolls around Atlanta, and it ends in the city of South Fulton County. I've been around for many, many years. They know where I live. If they can't get me on the phone, if I don't respond to a text, you know what they do? My husband says, I can't believe this. We have a new number. I fought against it because I've had my telephone number. It's new, and I don't know how, the new number has gotten out. But I wanted to give you that as just some background information, and that's why I decided to put it in writing, because I don't want to take a lot of time, and you could read this a little later. But the two big questions that I have, number one, does our TPPEM encourage knowledge? That's number one. Number two, does it encourage wisdom? Rhetorical question. Teacher preparation within the last 2 decades. I was involved many years ago at Morris Brown College in teacher education. We had one of the best teacher education programs around. I was there, okay? Core curriculum endorsed in May 2010 to develop common K through 12 reading and math standards designed to prepare students for college and their careers. Then I mentioned about the core curriculum. It's here. Did you give this? Did you give? Sorry. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, it's, everybody has a copy.
I'm listening right there, so.
Yes. Okay. On the left-hand corner, core curriculum. These new requirements have caused huge problems with getting qualified teachers in certain subjects, such as math, science, and special education, and certain areas such as rural, inner cities, where school districts are already experiencing teacher shortages. How did I get this information? From writing, texting, my districts. So I decided to put it all together. Let's turn to page 2, and I'll move through it very quickly because I have another commitment. To the left, teacher assessment on performance standards, that's TAPS, a system of classroom teacher observations performed by administrators. This was one of the biggies, okay? One person, well, several, mentioned this to me. There were actually three, because somebody called last night about 11:30. Very well educated teachers wanted to learn more and to have their students learn more as well. They have taught the core materials for their courses and introduced the students to applying and utilizing that core material to move forward and upward in their knowledge and educational experience. Reports have come from some teachers that administrators have viewed their classes while they were teaching and accuse them of going too far with the students' education for that course. So rather than learning better and more in order to prepare themselves for their future educational and professional lives, the students are being held back. Therefore, they are falling short of what they can learn and will need to know. The administrators need to study more for science, math, and communications. Let's turn back to page 1 right quickly, and I'll run through this, okay? Can TPPEM be TEPPEM? One retired teacher added education. That's what the second one is.
I was wondering what the
Oh, yes. Is education more than the room and a class? 10 individuals asked me that. No child left behind. The No Child Left Behind Act of 2002, as you are aware, was a U.S. act of Congress that reauthorized the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. It included Title I, that's where I was involved, provisions applying to disadvantaged students. It supported standards-based education reform based on the premise that setting high standards and establishing measurable goals could improve individual outcomes in education. The act required states to develop assessments in basic skills. To receive federal school funding, states had to give these assessments to all students at select grade levels. And I added the classroom computers as the reading, writing, and teaching source. We're talking, what, many, many years ago. And I have a copy of it. We did it, okay? And lastly, page 2. What are the pros and cons of No Child Left Behind? List of the pros of No Child Left Behind, and there are 5. And the reason why I'm reading this is because a lot of individuals in my district says we can't attend, if we had known about it. So I said, I'm almost sure it will be live streamed and you could see it. I'm not too sure, but hopefully it will because they want to watch it. Okay, the pros of No Child Left Behind. Number 1, it added structure to educational programs nationwide. Number 2, it held teachers and administrators accountable for student performance. Number 3, socioeconomic gaps had less influence with this legislation. Number 4, teacher qualifications were emphasized during NCLB, No Child Left Behind. And number 5, resource identification became easier. And that, the next part that I will research and have more to say on maybe at the next meeting, education politics. That dealt with no grammar in the class. That ends my questions.
Representative, I think Dr. Denley, the representative brings up a lot of things that came from the testing and ties into something maybe a little bit more than what you came to talk about today with the Nexus in the feedback loop that we use to test to create that. I'd like to suggest, if it's okay to the representative, so we could get the questions on Nexus, that we let the doctor take that under advisement, work with the executive group at the Professional Standards Commission, and we'll invite y'all back to address the representative, questions and thoughts on that.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that, although I can certainly give some, just maybe some a brief response, just to reassure the representative on at least some points. And first of all, thank you for the generous words about if you've been following my career, I think you'll know that I'm so passionately committed to enabling students to be successful in ways that we have not been able to allow them to be successful in the past. And so modifications to the ways in which our education structure are set up to exactly bring about better results are precisely the kinds of changes that I'm looking to have been involved in putting in the past, and I'm certainly involved in putting it in the future. When it comes to the current assessment, I, for one, very much welcome the fact that we now have data from sort of both sides of the classroom door, if you like. That we have traditionally had data, of course, about what happens when students go through our teacher preparation programs. We have grades, we have assessments we gave them. What we haven't had in the past is, well, how does that actually translate to performance in the classroom? How does that translate to students when they're actually in a K-12 classroom learning? And so I very much welcome having this new tool for us to exactly be able to really get under the hood. And so as we go about making modifications to our teacher training programs, we can do so with true data that allows us to be able to make strategic modifications that create improvements in areas where improvements need to be made. The other piece really is really to recognize the momentum of your work that I talked about earlier. One of the things that I was remiss in mentioning was all of the strategies that we are putting in place all also have the properties that they level historic equity gaps and disparities in outcomes. And so again, I hope that you would be pleased to know that we also are very committed to enabling all of our students to be as successful as they possibly can be. But certainly I'll be happy to answer more detailed questions in another time. Yeah.
Let's try, please, let's try to move along.
Okay. Is that on now? Yeah. Nexus, I didn't mention that at all because I know of schools that's doing it. They've been doing it for a long, long time. And I think it's a good program. But in my district, they talk about the high-level stuff. And that's why I put it together, and it's more food.
I'm concerned that maybe, as you said that maybe we've confused what this thing is. I guess there are a number of things in the world that are called Nexus, and this is an entirely new kind of program that's only been in existence for just a year or so. So maybe it's a different thing. Yeah.
I'm going to go. I don't know who came up in order, so I'm just going to go from left to right. 1, 2, 5, and 12. That's what we got here. Representative Hawken.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's really interesting, the idea, and I think it's incredibly important. So I want to commend you on this work. It's been known for some time that there are gaps in the very traditional models of higher education, and it needs to be more flexible. So I have 2 very specific questions. I understand that the Nexus degree is stackable. My colleague here, Dr. Clark, has a PhD. I have 2 masters and a law degree. I only say that because I think we could probably immediately fulfill all of it except for the experiential part, right?
So the more than what we let me start the sentence again. The focused 18-hour coursework is in a very specific set of courses, and so it may well be that if a student has that set of coursework, then certainly that would be transferable into that program. But the kinds of, if I go back on the
so it's not just the 60 hours. Sorry,
no,
I'm glad that you
it's
said
not just
that.
60 hours in anything. The
18 hours.
Yeah, so if, like I put up the slide about the cybersecurity one, you can see these are very specifically designed set of curricula. Yeah.
Now I understand.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, thank
that
you.
makes it very clear. The other part of it is for the intern work side of it. Totally understand what that is designed to do to help put people in the workplace. My question is for those who are already working and are trying to do lifelong learning, is that accessible for those folks, or is it a barrier to those folks?
No, the intention is that it would be accessible. So certainly, again, this is a brand new kind of degree, and so exactly the ways in which these degrees are being presented to students it's evolving, just as other degrees have. But certainly the intention is that if someone is a working adult and they're already working in a particular field, then what better opportunity would there be than to actually utilize that they're already in that setting as part of the experiential learning experience.
Okay, so they wouldn't necessarily have to get a second job if it was already in the same area. They could just learn whatever skills the program is trying to get.
Precisely.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon. So I have 2 very short, small questions. The first one is these Nexus Degrees are 60 hours. You have 18 hours of very specific curriculum. I am not really sure how that's different than an associate's degree where those 18 hours could just, like, why is it not like just an associate's degree in IT, cybersecurity and financial technology? Why is it a different degree? And then my second question is, you said that if you already have a bachelor's, you could just take those 18 hours and get this Nexus degree. Could a person technically get multiple Nexus degrees? Because, I mean, 24-week, like, what if you're just really ambitious? You're like, I have 7 Nexus degrees that I worked on over the last 3 years, along with, like, my bachelor's. So I'm just trying to get an idea.
So answer the second question first.
Okay.
The answer is yes. So once these programs exist, and we would, I mean, in many ways, part of the spirit of this new degree was exactly to put programs in place that would allow students, or actually not really students, people throughout their lives to come back and to earn credentials as they see fit through the sequence of their life. That may be, as you say, so stacking multiple Nexus degrees. This may be, maybe you have someone who is a working nurse, and throughout their life as a working nurse, maybe they need some extra kind of expertise or training or specification, and so earning that Nexus degree, and then perhaps another one 3 years later. Exactly, that's very much the picture. The difference between this degree and an associate's degree is an associate's degree, all of the coursework is always at the lower, at the 1,000 and 2,000 level. And so having this 18 hours at the upper division level, at the junior and senior level, and also deliberately building in this experiential learning, the co-op, the internship aspect of this work, that's what really distinguishes this from a traditional associate's degree. Sure.
Thank you, Don. Can I, on Dr. Clark's the multiple degrees, it is not true. The Nexus degree is a bit trying to standardize what some companies have been doing for years. They taught within
Yes.
I don't want to do an advertisement for anybody, but you pick it, Delta, Boeing, IBM, Home Depot, they wanted their finance people to learn a specific thing, so they did it internally. And that was only good if you worked at Home Depot or you only worked at Delta. What you're trying to do is across industries provide that same level of training, credentialize it so that in the economy that we have now, being disrupted by a number of things, one could, when you get that education and that knowledge, and it's more general speaking than specific to Home Depot Orange or Coca-Cola Red, education, that one could take that and with the economy that moves around like we do, from state to state and from industry to industry, one can take that. That's what I believe I heard, and I heard out in Park City this summer, that a lot of people across the country as labor types are being disrupted by innovation, that they see as a positive to get people back, to work at the highest possible income level. So going down the line, Representative Bentley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for being here. Thank all of you for being here sharing this afternoon. Two quick questions. I'll be really brief. As it relates to Nexus Degree, you only referenced 2 universities that are part of the university system. Are you anticipating any other universities to request such degrees?
I absolutely am. And I know that basically every institution in the system is right now going through the process of looking to see what kinds of Nexus degrees would fit well as part of their degree portfolio. The reality of the situation is, and there's no reason for us not to talk candidly about it, creating this brand new degree after 100 years, there really wasn't any sort of set down process about how to do that. And it certainly wasn't initially clear that SAC-COC would actually approve a brand new kind of degree. And so we needed one of our institutions to be kind of the pioneer, if you will. And Columbus State was willing to do that, and we very much thank their willingness to do that. They now have shown that this is possible, and so now other institutions are sort of following in their pathway. Absolutely.
Very good. Last question. This is a little off key, but just something is on the mind of a lot of folks down in House District 139. We got Fort Valley State University down there, and now that the Medical Cannabis Commission has been named, are these universities, these land-grant institutions, ready to start moving forward on medical cannabis at this time?
I know that there are certainly conversations that have been happening across the university system, and I think that's maybe all I'm in the position to talk about today.
Okay. Well, maybe somebody will be in a position to give me an update on that really soon.
I would be happy to do that.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
I pretend I'm Betsy. Thank you very much. Your explanation helped me understand the Nexus degree more, and I really appreciate in this area of specialization, how important it is for people to get skills that they graduate and can immediately use. My question is much more basic, since I've learned a lot about the technical colleges and their relationships with the businesses in their community. Do you have any statistics yet about the people who enter technical colleges who are proven to have much more potential? And is there any statistic about those students who end up in a Nexus program, or?
It's nothing
early?
yet, just because, I mean, literally, actually, for instance, this cybersecurity degree that Columbus has launched, the students will begin studying on the first day of classes. So this is all very, 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 very early. Yeah.
I can tell it's pretty specialized because I had to look up blockchain.
Indeed.
Thank you for bringing us into the 21st century.
So it sounds like we have our topic for the next the higher ed committee meeting. I can't tell who's down there, but somebody is number 24. Yes, sir. Representative Washburn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Denley, thank you for your work on the Nexus degree. You and I spoke briefly, I think, up at Dalton State when we were up there. And I think it has great potential, very productive for what we need in the way of workforce development in Georgia. So thank you for your work. I did have a question relative to high demand career field and the employer partners aspect of this. How are we promoting it with employers for development of potential Nexus degrees that might be needed? I was just curious if we have plans to promote it with the employers, to let them know of the availability to be able to develop a Nexus degree for some field where they might really have need for employees?
Yeah, certainly. So on the one hand, whatever it is we have in place, my suspicion is there is still much more to be done, and I absolutely recognize that. Well, what we have done is, over the last couple of years, developed a methodology to work with an industry sector as a whole to really work with them to understand what are the curricular elements that they as a sector really need. So a good example of this is the work that we've done with the fintech industry, where we actually worked with about 100 employers in the fintech sector to understand, and the reality is that without really knowing precisely what it is that that sector wants and helping them to be able to express that, I think it's easy for you to understand. Sometimes there's a sort of barrier in language that the employer says, look, we really want this, and people in higher ed hear that and go, I'm not sure exactly that I know what that is because we call it this, and so it's trying to find that middle ground where we can really understand precisely what that set of knowledge and skill bases is, and then that allows the schools then to see, oh, if that's what they need, this is how we can develop an educational experience that actually provides and meets that blueprint. So yeah, so we've already been working with the fintech industry in this way, and there are others that we anticipate working in a similar way too. Yeah.
Thank you. Just one more comment, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much again for your work, and I look forward to seeing other Nexus Degrees develop, and I think it has great potential. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Dr. Denley, for your work. This is really exciting. I just had one question. For example, say I have a degree, and but I'm working at a particular job. When it comes time for the apprenticeship or the clinical, are they going to get paid for doing that? Because they may already have a job, and if they quit that job, they might have to quit that job in order to complete this degree.
Yeah, I think it's a great point, and it really is the case that this approach is somewhat under development to understand, and certainly I would expect our institutions to be conscious of that and to develop those experiences in ways that really provide those kinds of opportunities. I think it sort of goes counter to the way that we have tried to create this new degree, that somehow we would be creating barriers to people moving forward. Instead, we want to find ways in which we can find pathways for them to move forward. So absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I see no further questions, so I think we've used up all of our time with you this afternoon. Unless there are anyone have further questions? If not, I have just very briefly some housekeeping items. Thank you very much. Housekeeping items in your packet. You should have found a higher education committee form. We need this so we can get in touch with you, that we will keep this near and dear to us in the office, but it is a contact sheet. If you don't have time to fill it out today and hand it to Sarah before you leave, please drop it by our office. I would tell you to drop it with me on the floor, but to be honest, it will be safer if you would drop it by 417 directly to Sarah, if you would kindly do that. Also, we will meet next Wednesday. There's a piece of legislation that we will have a hearing only on. I'll get you a note out before we leave tomorrow so you can take a look at that. We'll have a hearing only, and we may have an additional present. I'm sorry, the Wednesday next we are in session. Thank you for correcting me. 29, I think it'll be. Yeah, so I stand corrected. It will be the Wednesday next we are in session when we will hear that bell, but you'll get an announcement of that. If there's no further business before the committee, we'll stand adjourned. No further business before the committee will stand adjourned. If there's not an objection, seeing no objection, the committee is adjourned. Thank you for your attendance.